gentle men and women of the media. On my far right, we have Tood, and you may sit down, as a candidate for Pdois in the recently held by-elections. We have had to wait to get the results from the IEC before convening this press conference. In our last press conference, assessing the results of the National Assembly elections, we emphasized that we will be participating in 2 by-elections for the council. We would wish to inform you that in the by-elections we contested for the London Corner ward, we have Aji Sabtiu J of the NPP as the victor with 1,038 votes. She was followed, Sheikh Manka, independent, 141 votes, and Abdul Wahab Gay, independent, 137 votes. We also received the declaration of results for the Bundung 6 Johnson ward, where Alajibi Njai, NPP, had 989 votes. And the person I call Alaji Silla, the true name is Abubakar Silla, of Pdois, 1,124 votes. In this respect, our candidate won in the Bundung 6 Junction ward and lost the London ward. Still, we have 3 seats in the council KMC. How do we view the results? Some people had indicated that the now constituted ruling party, as it is commonly given that nomenclature, started with by-elections, Kerjarga ward, and ultimately Nyamina East. And also Nyamina West, I'm sorry. And eventually they won in the by-elections that were held, and they said that gave them a footprint to move forward in the political process in the Gambia. We've just concluded National Assembly elections, which is the second phase of the electoral cycle. Now that we have by-election before the 3rd phase of the electoral cycle, where Pdois won 1 and lost 1, we can say that this augurs well for Pdois as a party. We've assessed the results of not only the 2 by-elections, but also the other by-elections held in West Coast region. We'll leave other parties to do their assessment, but from our own assessment, we have seen that where you have independent candidates, this is where the NPP won. But where it is a straight fight between the party and another party, we've seen that they've lost in both wards. In the Bundung 6 junction ward, it was NPP versus Pdois, and we won. In the London ward, many independent candidates. We also lost. We want to tell the nation that we have gathered sufficient information to know that parties alone do not lead to victory in elections. Candidates matter, and the selection of candidates matter. And Pdois, as a party, is a democratic party. It does not dictate from above who stand as candidates. We convened this press conference to draw lessons. The fundamental lessons that we have drawn must be conveyed to the citizenry. The key lesson is that politics is about tactics and strategy. Your strategy must be correct. Your tactics must be correct. Pdois' strategy is very simple. That the sovereign Gambian people are the owners of this country, owners of its sovereign wealth. That such sovereign wealth must be utilized to eradicate their poverty, any injustice perpetrated against them, and any ignorance that they are subjected to. We are convinced that is a correct strategy, which we consistently promote and consistently adhere to. The tactics simply may vary because we can never ever take control of state power without mass support. Pdois is convinced that we must mobilize the vast majority of people and base that mobilization on the basis of that strategic objective in order to be able to have the representation that will be fit for purpose. That is what we have been doing, and that is where we are today, facing the third phase of the Gambian electoral cycle, fully convinced that is 1-to-1 with the party that considered itself the ruling party in this country. We are convinced that because of our strategic objective, if we remain determined to educate the people, mobilize them, they will be able to effect the change that is necessary. We would want the Gambian people to know that we are here for the long run. We've always believed that our struggle is a protracted one. Information we have received would lead us to indicate that many parties base their victory on patronage. And we do not see really the popular support that would be required to make us believe that we cannot actually win the support of the people to change this country. If we look at the results, well, we are not really perturbed. We believe that these results do not really reflect our capacity to engage the Gambian population. We have not displayed that capacity to the full yet. And we believe that we are now being enticed by the results to know that we are capable of changing the destiny of this land. Anybody who believes that Pdois cannot win an election must now know that that is a false lesson that many people have drawn in the past to try to convince the Gambian electorate that Pdois should not be considered. But we believe that winning an election directly with the ruling party engaged is worthy for Gambians to take note of in the future. Councils are key instruments for the transformation of a society. And our councillor and the other councillors, or our joint councillors, will now take renewed steps in proving that to the Gambian population. Democracy is not only about national representation, it is also about community representation. Community representation is in fact more direct. That is why in the Local Government Act, it is made very clear that the councils will constitute the inroad into any development process in our villages and our towns. Councils are given power to raise revenue and put it into a fund. And that central fund of the council, community fund of the council, community development fund of the council, should be the basis for the eradication of many things that you see in our streets today. Congestion in the streets, lack of street lights, lack of taps, filth everywhere, poor maintenance of garages. Everything that is an eyesore in our country today can actually be eradicated by the councils. The law is very clear under Section 4 of the Finance and Audit Act of the councils that we must generate revenue for the councils, and 60% of that revenue should go to development. That's what the law says. 60% of all revenue generated by the councils should be utilized for development. Then to ensure that there is sharing of the national cake, Section 128 of the Local Government Act emphasizes that 25% of the development fund of councils should be provided by the government to facilitate development in all council areas. So when you look at the development fund of council, 60%, then 25% of that should be added annually, and it's a shall, it's mandatory, annually by the government to the council fund in order to facilitate the development of the councils. So it is clear that the councils should get the support of the national government to be able to facilitate development. Contrary to what is believed, the councils must be very close to the population. That is why it starts budgeting with determination of revenue estimates and expenditure estimates. And it requires such draft estimates to be posted in every ward for the people to vet what is there in order to know whether it serves their interest or not. And what development committees are established, chaired by the councils, so that they'll be able to monitor the process of development, to be able to indicate from what the people need, what is there to be budgeted for, and what is there to be provided for. So the councillor is not an ordinary person in this respect. The councillor is not a National Assembly member. The National Assembly member is not elected to control a budget, to provide services to people in a community. There is the central government empowered to establish ministries, appropriate resources to those ministries, establish policies, and ensure that those policies will find themselves in programs that will be implemented as activities in all parts of the country, in all areas of development, so that annually you see in agriculture, in health, in education, all sectors, you will see development, and you will have the indicators to see that development is actually taking place. And because of the implementation of those policies, the head of state is required to go around the country annually to see the manifestation of the implementation of those policies, because funds would have been given for their implementation, appropriate. During your last council elections, National Assembly elections, and also these by-elections, it was important for the party to clarify its position on many matters, but we did not. We wanted our councillors to participate and fight their fight, a fair fight without any influence from any quarters. Abubakar Silla won without our intervention. It was a fight of the community, a united community that wanted change irrespective of where they stood before the elections. That is what we anticipate in a country, that political parties are simply schools for the citizenry and the leadership of a country to gather what it means to be a citizen and what it means to be a representative of a nation. And from nurturing their members to be citizens who nobody can own, who will go there and elect based on informed choice, then you have the sovereign Gambian, the new Gambian that Pdois has been calling for, a Gambian who cannot be subjected to any inducement or intimidation, a free Gambian who will express the most enlightened view through the ballot, enlightened view of what is best for this country, what is best for her people. So we are convinced that Pdois is on that trajectory of nurturing that citizens. But that trajectory is not enough if it's not just only citizens to be citizens who vote and select leaders. We're also nurturing leaders who can deliver. And that is the purpose of the party. And that is why once we nurture the person, we leave you on the ground to contest elections. And that is what should be, not to hang around in corners at night buying votes. That's not the type of party member Pdois is nurturing. And that's not the type of party member Pdois will ever nurture, because the people are not slaves. People must be free. They must own their country. They must own their vote. They must own their mind. So in that respect, when we win elections, you know that we have won elections based on the free consent of the voter, not because we have done anything to bribe that voter to vote for our candidate. That is the level of democracy that Pdois has reached. Second level of democracy. It is the community that selects the candidate. That's what you call internal party democracy. It is the community that selects the candidate, not a central committee, not a group of people sitting up there deciding who should stand and who should not stand. And that is why when candidates want to stand, they can hold primaries and let the members choose whoever will be the candidate. That is our process. We also wish to emphasize to you that the party is participating now to move to that direction where the whole country will also follow suit. We believe that political parties in this country will no longer wish to win elections through bribery, through corrupt means. We believe that as we move forward, the examples will be there to follow, and the law is there to be enforced. We are going to be very strict on that as we move forward, because we know that this is a new journey. and no party is in control, if you look at the results, it's the Gambian people who are in control. And they are very unpredictable at the moment. And we must help them to become decisive on what is in their enlightened interest through educating them. We have seen and coming to the conclusion, and the councillor should bear that in mind, and our National Assembly member should bear that in mind. There was a debate as to resources given to National Assembly members to bring about development. Which minister will in fact propose such a thing in the first place? To come to a national budget for appropriation. National Assembly members are not part of the executive. And any National Assembly member who told you that he has brought about or she has brought about development in your community by being given money is not telling you the truth. National Assembly members are not given money. They cannot be given money. The budgetary system is clear. The Public Finance Act, under Section 28, states very clearly that after budgetary appropriation, there are vote controllers. Vote controllers. The National Assembly is the clerk of the National Assembly who is the vote controller. So if you put money under that budgetary system, it is not the budget, the money of the National Assembly member. It is there in the budget of the National Assembly. And it is not given to any National Assembly. It's by virtue of the appropriation given to it that the National Assembly says, well, this is the project that I want, and then the National Assembly will follow it through and ensure that the money goes where you say it should go. That's all. So in essence, it is the National Assembly that is implementing that project. You are just being consulted. And because you are just being consulted, you are not accountable. But you are the one who will go and organize who is going to implement the project. Who knows whether you are honest or dishonest? Who knows that you will not go and make a deal where somebody will go and dig a borehole for you, but a cheap one, an inferior borehole with quality? Who is going to determine that quality? And who will determine that you will not say, at the end of my term, I will come back to you and you can give me $50,000 for my election? Who can say that will not happen? So what are you doing then? That's promoting self-perpetuating rule of a National Assembly member. That's not what a National Assembly member is for. The National Assembly member is there to serve as oversight, to see that the funds appropriated are actually spent the way they are spent. They should be spent. Otherwise, you blow the whistle and tell the people so that they can remove that government and replace that government with another government who will be able to appropriate properly and also implement properly. That's all. It is the council that should receive that fund. It is the councils that should bring about development in our communities. And that's what our National Assembly should go and fight for, because they have not been receiving the funds necessary for the development of their councils. All National Assembly members agree to ensure that that vote that should come to councils for development increases to be able to address the needs and aspirations of the people in the communities. Because community governance is meant to be grassroots governance. That is why there is the policy of decentralization and devolution of power. because the council is directly linked to the community and therefore is the best access for development to take place and development fund to go through for development to take place. That is why you have village development committees, and all those village development committees, the membership is linked to the cabildos, to the community, so that the community will be directly involved in governance, in management of their affairs. Then the ward development committees arises from the village development committees, so that there is a linkage where the chairperson becomes the councillor. And here, as we have rightly said, when it comes to budgeting, 30th September, the budget would have been prepared, but prior to that, the draft would have been circulated and in every ward displayed, and the councillor would have done consultation, and they will know the exact budgeting that has taken place and what is required for development in that community. The people are involved. What do you say? You're giving fund to an individual who never consulted the community and tell you, well, this is what is needed. That's not the type of development that we should vie for. The councils must be seen as the cornerstone of community development and community democracy, community governance. And from henceforth, we have our people ready to work with our councillors, emphasize training of all sorts, so that we can all be aware and fully prepared of our mandate. We hope that our councillors will work together with the National Assembly members so that we begin a new process of involving our communities in development. Our new councillor has in fact been working with the community. He is part and parcel of the school outside administration, what is the parent-teachers administration of Serekunda School. He knows very well what happens in that school on a daily basis. We do not have sporting grounds for our own area. And Bundung 6 Junction is not an exception. Children are sitting everywhere without recreation facilities, without rehabilitation centers. We have different vocational centers. Nothing is there for them. What happens is you transform them into quasi-criminals who are neither arrested and taken to court and convicted, but still ascribed as criminals and daily hunted and consequently tormented. That is not what this country wishes for her children. And therefore, our council and the other councillors and National Assembly members will begin that journey of engagement with the young people in the community to ensure that they have people who love them, who care for them, who have time for them, who can run with them, exercise with them. And me and Celia will be ready to join you to see what age means and whether age matters. We will engage the community as reservists. You know, the military have their reservists. There will be reservists there to accompany those who says they are vibrant, they have the energy to serve. I looked at the results and those who were there to witness the results. And in London, I saw somebody who had in fact stood as a National Assembly member and had over 5,000 votes. And that is when in 2012, see there who was a sitting member of the National Assembly for Wuli, and my very self, we all decided that we will not participate in the 2012 National Assembly election to promote electoral reform. We established Go Far. Now some of them are saying, well, some people protested and that's why you had a change in the country. They've forgotten that a sitting member of the National Assembly decided not to participate in election in 2012, just to show that this system needed changing and we will not participate in National Assembly election again until we change it. And yes, we changed it in 2016. That's what gave birth to the coalition. Every other doctrine is false, and we'll clarify everything to be known. Go and read the documents of Go Far and see where it started to struggle for electoral reform, which concluded with the 2016 victory of the coalition. That is the correct history. But some people here never beat their chest. They were doing their work humbly because they believe in nation and people. They love nation and people, and we are ready to sacrifice everything for them. But now we'll make everything clear. Conclusion. The National Assembly is the beginning of another beginning for Pdois. We did not have a councillor in the Bundung 6 Junction ward. Now we do. That's a good beginning. We don't have a councillor in London, but we have a National Assembly member. He will prove what that means to that community. So we believe that as we move now and tomorrow, Gambians should begin to understand the fundamental difference between laissez-faire, formal democracy, and substantive democracy. Laissez-faire, formal democracy, where you accumulate as much wealth as possible, dispense that money so that you can mislead and buy people to go and vote for you to stay in power, which is very fragile and unreliable, as we have seen in 2016. And substantive democracy, where the people believe what they do and put their heart in what they believe in. We believe, whilst that may be small now, but in our science, what is arising and developing is much stronger than what is disintegrating and dying, no matter how large and big. We believe the truth is arising and developing. The truth will shine, and sooner or later, it will win the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that excellent and informative presentation. My dear journalists, I think you have a lot of data to interrogate what has been happening and what is to happen and what will happen in this country in terms of community development. Now the floor is open for anybody who wants to ask questions. Yes. Indicate your name, your media house that you represent. Yes. You want? Yeah. You want?
Thank you so much for the press conference. I just wanted to know the way forward for the party, the leadership of the party. I know the current setup, but whether going forward, is there going to be a change of guard, being yourself and Jata, Honorable Jata, because not in the parliament anymore. Then my second question is regarding the Constituency Development Fund. I understand, I was engaging with one of the current National Assembly members, and I'm made to understand that some $300,000 is made available via the Constituency Development Fund. And like you correctly said, it is handled and managed in collaboration with the clerk. Can you shed some light on that, whether that was the case during your tenure? Is it something new? And because I know you highlighted the issue about funds, NAMs not being given funds. So that's why I'm raising up this question. Thank you.
The two questions are relevant.
Yeah.
We have always said that the eyes do not look at what exists. They generally look at what did not exist and then brand Doi for what people assumed. We had National Assembly elections with 18 candidates. I will tell you that maybe only one candidate was above 60. So Doi is a very young party, contrary to what it is ascribed. And if you follow our genesis, it was the 30-year-old and 20-year-old that established Doi. In 1994, when they were still in their early 40s, late 30s, there was a coup d'etat by a 29-year-old. And for 22 years, they made us gray without achieving our historic responsibility. And it's unfortunate that people do not even consider that as a fact of history and see the role that we continue to play until now, when it is no longer necessary for us to continue to play that role. What is there for the party? It has a future with very vibrant young people capable of leading the destiny of this country to greater glory. Of course, experience matters. And they will be challenged. And that's what we are doing now. They will be challenged. It's not going to be a free lunch. They have to work for it. Because we are ready to challenge them for 100-meter race at our age and see whether they will run faster than us. When they do, we'll say, okay, it is now time for you to go ahead. They must accept the race and the challenge if they are sincere, as we were when we were at that age. Number two, the Constituency Development Fund is introduced during our time. There is nothing wrong in taking it if it is there. Analysis is being made. You must understand analysis. Of course, you can confront me and say, did you take it? Because I'm the one doing the criticism. It is there, and you should find out how people, who took it and how they utilize it. That's what the media should do. Interrogate every National Assembly who took it and say, how did you spend it? Let them explain. But personally, I refuse to take it. Because if I said anything then, there was this man is very strange. But now you see, I am free. I'm not there at the National Assembly to antagonize anybody. I am now a sovereign Gambian citizen, determined to make my mark in this country. That's why I'm saying that fund should be scrapped. Because it promotes self-perpetuating rule of National Assembly members. And it is a fund that you utilize from the top and not from the grassroots. Put that fund into the councils, into the development fund of the council. That is what can be accountable for. That's what I'm saying. I am saying. I hope you understand it as such.
I have a follow-up on that. From what I'm made to understand, the National Assembly member would identify a project, and then the clerk would be in charge of awarding contract for that project. Whether this is clear enough for your perspective, whether that just avoids this corruption that we are concerned with, to take the money, and then the people don't get the service. So whether that was the case, and if that is not clear enough for you, sir, to ensure that that 300,000 every year for 5 years could have been used to develop your constituency, sir. Thank you.
That's 1.5 million. So I'm saying, put it to the council, to the wards, because it is their duty to bring about development in my community. For me, for my salary, I can take something and say, well, I need to pay back. That's me, giving back to my community. But I am saying a fund that you cannot even maintain. So you are not the vote controller. As you said, you go and identify a project, and they finance the project. Who determines the quality of the project? Who monitors the project afterwards? For 1 year, 2 years, for 5 years, to see that it is fit for purpose. Who does that? Do you understand what I'm saying? So essentially, I'm critical of it. I'm not saying some people are corrupt or they are. I'm just simply saying it is not necessary. That's not the role of a National Assembly member. And any National Assembly member who wants to brag about that confirms what I'm saying. It's self-perpetuating rule. You've been given state money, you utilize it and say, I've done something for you. You give back to the people what belongs to them, and you want to use that so that you can be elected again. Is that not self-perpetuating rule? I am saying no to that. I'm not a party to that.
Well, okay. Mr. Job, not a job, both. Well, are you a journalist?
That's a good question. Is it you want to give a vote of confidence? What do I call it? Vote of
Thanks.
vote of thanks.
I have a question. Talking to so many people, looking at the parliamentary elections and the by-elections that just happened a week ago, some people define it this way, that they have seen that people who engage themselves in inducement and giving people presents, as they call it, are the parties actually that are winning. And they have seen that it's a working formula for them. And the people are beginning to accept that formula. Even in the recent by-elections, because of that, they're saying that we want 50%. 2 out of 4. So my question is the people beginning to realize that or accept it, that maybe this is a formula working for the Gambian people?
Well, I think formula comes from facts and figures. NPP versus Pdois, Bundung 6 Junction, Abubakar Silla won. So where's the formula? It's one-on-one. With all the money, the clout of power. Where's the formula? So essentially, if you look at the others also, you'll see that another party won. So we cannot talk about the other parties and what they do. That's why we are not touching that analysis. But we know that our people did not have the money. In fact, Abubakar Silla spent less on his campaign than what was spent in London because the candidate was new. So with less expenditure, there is victory. So that formula is no longer valid. We believe that it is the bottom that is valid. The battle to eradicate that formal laissez-faire democracy. We are going to eradicate it. The issue is not only having polling agents, but also having polling monitors to monitor the ground. We are going to build up a machinery. We are intelligent. I don't know where the analysis are coming from. 2016, who was more powerful than Jammeh? Some people want to throw dust in the eyes of people and make them believe that this is permanent. And of course, once you believe it, it is permanent. Because you will never have as much resources as they have, and they are here forever. We did not believe in that. That's why we gave another formula, and the formula works. Everybody is now claiming that it was their formula, that's why there is victory. But when we were saying it, they thought we were mad. I remember a politician who said, who have ever seen parties that do not belong to the same party, people not belong to the same party, having a primary? Who had ever seen that? And they were criticizing us at the earlier phase. But eventually they participated in the primaries. So essentially, we have a sense of history and sense of victory of formulas. So we are convinced and we have conviction because we have done it and it worked. We have not seen any opposition party ever winning in Gambia with that formula of laissez-faire democracy. Do you have that history? We have not seen it. Have you? No one has seen it. It's the formula of pennilessness. We had nothing in this coalition campaign. In fact, we almost got marooned. Anybody who tells you differently is telling you false information. We almost got marooned in the provinces for lack of resources and had to take debts in order to manage even to arrive back to the urban areas. We have the facts. And we challenge anybody who dare to contend those facts. That's what we are ready to do. That's what we are telling you. We are ready for that battle of ideas. We will not allow any wrong information to stand again.
You want to call it a day?
Sure.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming to cover this very important press conference. And I hope that tomorrow's papers will speak well and will give new information to people with regard to the operation of councils and what is meant by developing a community. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Honorable Salah, for the presentation.
Yeah,